Hello, everybody. Welcome you all to ICT project course module. I'm Tushari Silva from University of Moratuwa, presenting you an introduction to ICT project course module, week 1, part 1. It is essential for IT professionals to be equipped with software development skills. So far, you have learned about multiple skills that can be used to develop a software. So now it's time for you to apply all your skills and develop a small software solution, which is also an integral part of your profession. So as an initial step, you will be guided on how to solve a small programmable problem. Thus, designing and developing a software-based solution to the identified problem is the key aspect covered in this course module. This definitely gives you an opportunity to integrate multiple technologies, techniques that you have learned under different course modules, including system analysis and design, which teach you how to analyze requirements and design solutions based on multiple techniques. And information management, how do you store your data in a relational database management systems and access data by submitting queries and present them in the front end of your application. Visual programming languages. So you have come across multiple programming languages and now you can apply them to develop your own small scale solution. So this is just an integration of multiple skills that you have mastered at multiple courses. Course learning outcomes. At the end of this course module, you will be able to propose a solution to a simple programming problem by identifying the problem and determining its requirements and classifying them as functional requirements and non-functional requirements. Design a solution that matches the requirement is an essential thing that you need to master. Once you have identified a solution for the problem, by carefully going through the requirements, you need to implement your system by using a preferred programming language. And it is essential for you to identify a relational database management system that matches your programming language requirements. So once you have developed a solution which integrates database management systems plus the front end, so you will be able to judge and determine the appropriateness of the solution that you developed and the technologies that you have used. You will be called for the Viva Voce examination and you will be asked to present your systems at the end of this course module. Concept map of the course is presented here. So very first thing you need to do is to identify a programming questions. So not all problems can be solvable using a programming language or the techniques. Therefore, you need to identify a solution that can be solved using a programming technique. So that is called a programming problem. And once you identified a problem that you provide a solution based on your IT, then you need to analyze the scope of your project. And the requirements need to be carefully analyzed and classify them as functional and non-functional requirements. Functional requirements can be implemented. Non-functional requirement can be used to measure the quality of your solution. Designing a computer-based solution is the next thing that you need to do after identification of the requirements. So that section will totally be covered, the design aspects of your computer-based solution. You can show us the solutions by using flowcharts and pseudocodes. Flowcharts need to be carefully analyzed and drawn to depict the entire solution. So decision boxes plus the conditions and inputs and outputs are to be mentioned very clearly. Once you have identified the solution and design it using flowcharts and pseudocodes, you need to use a visual programming language to implement your solution. The development of the solution using a visual programming is another section that you need to go through. During your implementation, it is required for you to connect the relational database management system. So proper connection between database and frontend need to be developed. And retrieval of data from the backend is expected in your frontend application. Saving data properly, determining the data types and the schema is also another aspect that you need to master. Once you have implemented your solution, you need to write everything down in a report. So report writing sections will guide you throughout a template, and then you will be recorded all the activities you have done in report writing style. So let's go and see each and every section in detail and what additional parts you need to come up with. The first section covers the identifying a programming questions, which is solvable using an application program. So software application, computer software need to be implemented to solve your problem. Formation of the problem, identifying the scope, and the ability to solve using an application programs are key essentials in this section. Once the requirements are gathered, so requirements are to be classified either as functional requirement or non-functional requirement. That classification should also be facilitated by appropriate measurements, and you will be able to implement all your functional requirements at the implementation techniques. Before going to the implementation techniques, you need to design the solution. So you need to follow input, process, output model, very simple. Model identifies all the inputs as well as all the outputs and the processors you need to develop. Rather having very simple few processors, you better have include 1 to 2, very complex processors into your application. Flowcharts, pseudocodes will also be used to represent your solution and facilitate the implementation process. So next section is talk about the interconnection of databases or modeling the database and writing queries to retrieve data from the database. This is an aspect you already have learned in one of the previous courses. Once you have designed your database properly, it must be connected with the front end and you need to go through the implementation process. So all the pseudocodes need to be clearly mentioned of all the requirements, and the approximation of 500 lines of code is expected. So that determines the scope of your project. So that shouldn't be a very big project, so quite simple, but complex enough to conduct throughout the semester. Once the implementation is done, proper justification of your choices needs to be made and everything will clearly be presented in the project report. So there you need to follow scientific writing styles and arrange or organize your report based on the templates given in the course web page. At the end of all these activities, you will be called for the presentation and 5 hours examination. You will be asked to present your system and identify the technologies that you have used and present the work to the evaluation panel. So that brings to the end of this session. Thank you very much. I'll meet you at the next session.